Hello and bonjour to this episode of the Tyre Straights Podcast, the least professional motorsports podcast on the entire internet that is hosted by your favourite two morons. I am moron number one, Scobbert, and I'm joined as usual by my delightful co-host.
Doots, more on number 2, and Scobby. We have managed to hit 20 episodes.
We have. We are at our 20th episode. So obviously, just a little bit of a thank you. I mean, you know, we're hardly huge. We're not topping charts or anything, but that doesn't mean that we're not grateful for any and all support that we've received thus far in our journey.
I mean, we're just having a good bit of fun.
Exactly. That's what we do it for at the end of the day, and I like to think that attitude reflects in how we conduct ourselves in the online space.
Indeed. And now, speaking of which, how are you doing?
Yes,
how are you feeling?
I've been feeling a little bit under the weather today, to be honest. I was a little bit unsure if I'd be in a state to record, but I seem to have made a miraculous recovery or second wind or whatever you want to call it. I am sweating a lot, which I don't normally do, so it's a little bit disconcerting. But
I think this may not be the Tyre Straights podcast and maybe the Puddle of Melted Rubber Straights podcast, because my God, it is warm at the moment.
Yes,
the
UK is currently undergoing a heat wave, and obviously a lot of people don't understand the intensity of UK heat thanks to its humidity. But also, UK homes are really built for cooler weather. So there is not a lot of there's a lot more insulation in the walls of a British house than there is in, say, an American one. So and also much less ventilation.
And so it's absolutely lovely if you're going out and doing stuff. You know,
oh yeah, delightful.
Walk, X, Y, Z. But like trying to get a good night's sleep when you're in a puddle of your own sweat, and there's no way of cooling down.
Nope. Yes, no, I was telling Doots just prior to this recording session that. The front room that I record from in my house literally has zero ventilation. And it was about, during the sort of hottest part of the afternoon, it was about 40 degrees in here. So I really have been roasting. And I think the reason I haven't felt well today is literally just pure heat stroke.
The heat. Probably just the heat, yeah.
Yeah, so if you are in the UK or indeed anywhere in the world that's currently feeling a bit toasty, please stay hydrated. You know, keep yourself cool when you can, and just look after yourselves. We cannot afford to lose you.
But no, anyway, move on with the episode. What are we talking about today, Scott?
Well, if anyone watched to the end of last week's episode, normally we like to discuss a lot of different motorsport series, but given the magnitude of the event just gone, we thought it deserved its whole own episode. And considering that there is a gap in the F1, we thought this would be the perfect slot to place it in. So today we're going to be discussing the 24 Hours of Le Mans. A little bit of an overview of it, the race that has just gone, the winners and losers, and all of that lovely stuff.
Indeed, and it was a pretty good year. I liked it more. I think it was last year, where there's a huge chunk of the race that was just under yellows. It was not the most interesting on the whole, but no, this year's been pretty good. I
think it's been my favourite since 2023.
Yeah, probably. That 24 wasn't anything particularly.
No, but 23 was very exciting with the return of Ferrari to the win.
Yeah, I liked seeing the 83.
Yeah.
Win in, I think that was last year, but
the AF course.
Yeah. Regardless, it's we'll quickly mention. While we will be talking about the Hypercar and the LMGT3, neither of us have really paid much attention to the LMP2 or LMP2 Pro-Am classes, so that's not really going to pop up. So if that's what you were hoping to hear, sorry.
I mean, it's not all bad news on that front, though, because I would like to just add that we both come into this bringing in sort of expertise feels like the wrong word when describing the two of us. But we both have specific areas of motorsports interests between the two of us, and we both bring those to the table. And one of mine is the European Le Mans series, which sees a lot of LMP2 racing. So please do stick around, because you may just hear about that if you are one of 5 LMP2 diehard superfans that exists in the world. like me.
Yeah. Fair.
But before we get into the juice of this episode, please do remember to subscribe and follow on whatever platform you're listening on, whether that's YouTube or Spotify, and do indeed go and follow us over on Instagram and Twitter at the Tyre Straights Podcast. It's the easiest way you'll be able to get hold of us. We're obviously not a big podcast, so if you want to sort of chip in any opinions, hot takes, anything of that sort of variety, anything you want to see us talk about, please do feel free to comment or even leave us a message. We're at a stage where we will see it. Neither of us has got not much better to do. So, with all that said, there's only a little bit of stuff to get into before we discuss the Le Mans 24 Hours. And that little bit of stuff is just some news in the Formula One world. We can't completely lose our roots here, but there's I don't know how familiar everyone is with the whole sort of controversy, I guess, to come out of Monaco with the penalties and podium situation. Are you well versed at all?
I don't know particularly much on what's going on with this, because I know that the McLaren and Red Bull are now going to court.
They are indeed.
The whole thing. The only things I knew is that they were quite angry about the fact that Gasly got given the penalty back, and I know that Mercedes put in a right to review on Russell's drive-through penalty, but I know that they've since rescinded that, so that's not going ahead.
Yeah.
But if you want to run me through, what is going on with?
So as you
say, I didn't realize they were going that serious.
As you say, they're both going to. So McLaren and Red Bull have filed a sort of complaint against the result, which they're going to be going to the international court, like a motorsports court. They're not going to the International Court of Human Rights or something. But basically, it all comes down to Gasly's podium being reinstated, and the reason Gasly, for anyone who doesn't know what happened, basically in Monaco in the pit lane there was a issue with the timing loop, which caused several drivers to be given penalties for speeding in the pit lane, which it turns out they weren't actually. And Gasly and Colapinto, the two Alpine drivers, would serve these penalties during the race, which dropped Gasly from 3rd to 7th. And the other drivers that also got penalties but didn't serve them in the pits, instead on the road or whatever, like Oscar Piastri, they weren't otherwise affected, aside from obviously losing some time at the end of the race. But Alpine, they asked for a right of review against both penalties that Gasly accrued, and during the course of the Spanish Grand Prix weekend, the result would be overturned and Hadjar would be demoted to 4th, losing that second penalty in his career, and also the aforementioned Oscar Piastri would be moved down the order. And
second podium, not second penalty.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No, it's fine. It's fine. Keep going.
But yeah, and it just means that both McLaren and Red Bull are not too happy with that, and they've both launched an appeal procedure over the situation. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of that. But that's all we've got for now. I'm sure probably more will come out soon, but try and stick around if you want to hear more about that whole saga.
I'm not sure what's really going to happen with it. I definitely think that the changing of or removing the penalty from Gasly, it sets a dangerous precedent.
It does.
It means that everyone can kind of, I think I said this last episode, everyone can kind of jump forward and say, well, this was a problem, so we shouldn't have served this, or XYZ. Certainly with Piastri and Hadjar, it is much more of a reasonable ask, because he didn't, neither of them actually served it in the pits. It was just time added on at the end. So it can be changed, but it's going to be a really tough one.
I think it's likely that it will get, amended. And I think just because, like you say, it would set a rather an unfortunate precedent. And also I just think, if they're going to do this for one driver, they'll do it for the others if the same pressure is
if they complain enough. Yeah,
exactly. Obviously Alpine sort of went, well, hang on, if this is a problem with your equipment, why are we getting punished for it? And I think obviously Red Bull and McLaren are sharing that sentiment somewhat after seeing that complaining works.
Yeah, very much so.
But that's all for the F1 until later this episode. We'll get into that. There's the usual pre-race weekend excitement to come. But enough of that for now. We've got the 24 Hours of Le Mans to discuss. So we've sort of split the responsibility here between the two of us. Basically, I'm going to be discussing sort of what the 24 Hours Le Mans is, kind of, and a very, very sort of loose history to it. Nothing particularly in depth, but just to give a baseline understanding of the race itself and what makes it so, important. And then my lovely co-host Doots will go over the results from the 2026 24 Hours of Le Mans. So you may get sick and tired of my voice for the first sort of for the next 10 minutes, but I promise it gets better. You get the dulcet tones of Mr. Doots to come.
That's fine. I'll try and interject where I can.
Please do. I feel like I'll need to keep taking sips of drink otherwise.
Yeah, I will say it's like when it comes to the actual circuit itself, I do know a decent bit. It's more like there's some history stuff that I'm not the most clear on.
Yeah, well, I'll get you to dip back on that then in that case. But yes, the 24 Hours of Le Mans is the oldest currently running endurance racing event in the world. It first started in 1923, and since then it has only been cancelled 10 times. It's been moved around on the schedule other times when there have been issues like civil unrest or things like that within France. But only 10 times was it ever cancelled, and 9 of those 10 times were due to World War II and the aftermath years of that when France was still rebuilding. So it is one of the sort of longest running races in history, up there with things like the Monaco Grand Prix and the Indy 500. It has just been going on for years and years and years. And I think that's one of the reasons why it is held up there with the Monaco Grand Prix in Formula 1 and the Indy 500 as being one of the 3 points of the Triple Crown of motorsports. And the unique challenge of Le Mans, back when it first started, it did stand out from those sort of individual Grand Prix style race events, because it was more of a test of the cars and drivers than, anything else, because especially for the cars, they were pushing them to the near breaking point for hours on end, and obviously the drivers had to keep up form, they had to keep up pace for those hours on end. And basically the format is truly 24 hours of racing. At the moment that the race starts, a clock begins counting down, and when it hits 0, whichever car has traveled the most distance, has done the most laps, is the winner. And with that in mind, basically from the very beginning, the cars were purpose-built machines that had a emphasis on reliability and durability, as well as that demand for speed and handling that you have in other racing categories. So this did lead to a lot of innovation in things like fueling and sort of the way that liquids in the car are monitored. So there are certain sort of automotive innovations that exist today in road cars that may well have originated from endurance racing, and obviously the 24 Hours of Le Mans being the big one there. It has truly been rather groundbreaking, and its importance is still to this day rather visible. That's the word I was looking for.
It still stands as probably one of the most important races of the year.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
100% one of the most legendary. I mean, it completely owns its status as one of the Triple Crown, and in my opinion, maybe yours as well. I haven't actually asked in particular. I think it is the most important of the Triple Crown.
It's by far and away the hardest race to not only to win, but also to compete in, because endurance racing is hard.
Yeah. It is tough.
I've done very, very short endurance races in karting, and just keeping up your pace for I've done it for 30-minute stints. They drive for hours on end in their stints.
Yeah.
I
just between
cannot
three
fathom it. Yeah, between 3 drivers, I cannot fathom it.
Even back then, there were times it used to be 2.
Yeah.
For a long time. It's only somewhat recently where it's been switched to 3 drivers per car.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where you have to be on form from start to finish. Otherwise, you will fall behind or you will make a mistake. If you get tired while driving, that just can't happen. It's just, especially when, as you get further and further into the race, the longer it goes for, the more tired and worn out you get. The physical challenge is immense because you're driving, cars that are built for speed. They're built for racing. And, some of the upper end of the Le Mans hypercars are up there with, formula racing machinery in terms of the G-forces they pull in the corners. So it is really, really arduous and a real serious test of not only the endurance of a racing car, but also of a racing driver. So I think that's what sort of cements its legendary status to this day. I think that's why there's still so much attention around it.
Yeah.
But, of course, it does need a battleground, and that battleground is the Circuit de la Sarthe, which is it's a bit of a weird track, wouldn't you say?
It's kind of odd, but it's so cemented in as what it is, because basically the whole Le Mans complex has 2 major circuits.
Yeah.
Those being the Bugatti circuit and then Circuit de la Sarthe.
Bugatti being a sort of smaller F1 GP style track.
It's a GP style track. I don't know. The only thing I know it's used for is MotoGP. They race on the Bugatti circuit.
Right.
I don't know other series. I'm certain there's a GT series or DTM or something like that, or some kind of touring car championship that runs on it. But the Circuit de la Sarthe is the large, full configuration is what most people know when they think of Le Mans.
Yeah, and it's a very strange track because it's a mix of public roads that are closed during the event and also purpose-built racetrack elements. So it is genuinely sort of a bit of a mishmash, and it does give it a very unique kind of atmosphere. But the track itself, since 1932, it's undergone several configurations, but since then they have been relatively consistent. All of them have had a total distance in the ballpark of around 13.5 kilometers long, and it does feature some iconic elements like the long Mulsanne Straight, which is back in the day where the cars would reach their highest speeds. Since I think since 1988, they've added chicanes to try and slow the cars down. So it does. It's not quite the same as what it used to be, but it's still the point on the track where the fastest racing happens.
Yeah. And also want to do I want to do a quick rest in peace, a short memorial for the Dunlop Bridge.
Yes,
which this year has been changed to the Goodyear Bridge, and it is just such a shame to see such an iconic part of the track, this beautiful downhill chicane essentially, with the bridge be changed. I know it's no different. It's another tire manufacturer, but it just feels wrong.
The architecture is not different, but the logo, it doesn't fit the same way.
It doesn't feel right. It's just I don't like it.
That was probably the most jarring thing to see during the broadcast because, like we said, neither of us really followed particularly closely this year. So on the moments where I could tune in between work and things over the weekend, seeing that the first time I saw it, I was like, hang on. But yeah, just to quickly go over a few last bits, I wanted to discuss the winningest team and the winningest driver in Le Mans history. Now, it's in endurance racing, like the World Endurance Championship or IMSA or the European Le Mans Series, things like that. They all are based on the cars rather than the drivers. So obviously, like we said earlier, each team in the 24 Hours Le Mans had 3 drivers, and the winner was the car driven by those 3 drivers. So results are based on the car's overall result rather than individual driver performances. But that's not to say that there haven't been drivers that have stood out from the rest of the pack in the time since. So I'll get to that in a moment. But the most successful racing team in Le Mans history is Yost Racing, with 15 Le Mans overall victories. which, that is a lot. Considering how long Le Mans has been running, over 100 years, that's still a fair chunk of the victories ever in Le Mans history. But yeah, Joest Racing is a German racing team that was established in 1978 by the team owner was originally a Porsche works driver who, through his connections, would run Porsche racing cars before they switched to Audi in the late 90s. And even if you aren't particularly involved, you might know about Audi's sort of run of form in the early 2000s in Le Mans. And a lot of that happened with Joest Racing, where using the R8 prototype car, they scored 3 Le Mans overall wins in between 2000 and 2002 for a hat trick.
Well, I mean, from 2000 to 2010, they won all but 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't win 03, they didn't win 09.
Yeah, but it's that hat trick between 2000 and 2002 that is legendary. But yeah, their first win came in 1984, driving the legendary Porsche 956B. I say legendary not because of any particular status, other than the fact that it held the, I believe it was the outright Nürburgring lap record for something crazy like 30 years. So, genuinely a crazy car, but not the most successful when it comes to Le Mans racing. Nevertheless, their last win was only 12 years ago in 2014, using the Audi R18 e-tron Quattro. And obviously that puts their first and last win 30 years apart, with then another 13 between those two points. And yeah, that record, you think in spite of the presence of like teams and manufacturers like Toyota, Ferrari, Porsche, or of course, the customer teams like AF Corse, who we mentioned earlier, who've all won multiple times. You think Porsche is the most successful manufacturer in Le Mans history. I think a Porsche-driven car has won 19 of the Le Mans 24-hour races. So they've got crazy, histories and repertoires. But to think that Joest Racing stands at the top of that mountain is a very impressive feat, indeed.
I mean, Porsche hold the most wins of any manufacturer in Le Mans history with 19, as you said.
Yeah.
I think it's closely followed by Audi as well, so they picked their manufacturers very well.
They really did, yes. But that does segue nicely into the most successful driver in Le Mans history, because that is another Audi-affiliated individual, who is Tom Christensen, a Danish driver with 9 Le Mans victories to his belt. And he was once actually an F1 hopeful, who was sort of like giving Michael Schumacher a hard time in the junior ranks of Formula Racing, with a lot of people thinking he was going to be the heir apparent to Formula One, stardom. Obviously, he would give up that dream by deciding to instead turn his sights to sports car racing, and he became, possibly, depending on who you ask, the greatest to ever do it. And his last win came in 2013 with the aforementioned Joest Racing team, driving the Audi R18 e-tron Quattro. And not only does he hold the record for the most wins at Le Mans, he also holds the most wins for the 12 hours of Sebring with 6. So he's just an endurance racing machine. And some of the most iconic sort of, 2000s to 2010s endurance racing cars, he's driven them. You think he's driven, with Joest Racing, he's driven Audis, which obviously is what a lot of people sort of know him for, but he's also driven Bentleys, Porsches, all sorts. So it's some awesome sort of prowess there. But yeah. That's, to sort of put a concluding note on this little brief overview though, it would be remiss of me not to mention the tragic 1955 Le Mans disaster, which would ultimately change world motorsports, drastically in its immediate aftermath, and arguably forever since. Because immediately afterwards, several countries even had an outright ban on motorsports put into place. Most of these were lifted not long after, but interestingly, when researching for this episode, I found out that Switzerland is only set to lift its ban on circuit motor racing on the 1st of July of this year. So in, a little over a week.
Yeah, yeah.
So
the interesting one is, do they actually have any circuits left? Because of circuits?
I don't believe so, no, from what I could see. Because of everything regarding sort of motor racing on circuits. Obviously, it's a bit of a caveat where the direct quote is motor racing events, so on circuits. So there's been plenty of hill climbs, rallying, rally stages, and as you'll know, Doots, there's been 2 Formula E races.
There was 2 Formula E street tracks, one in Bern and one in Zurich, but they were both wrought with A, poor design, and B, lots of issues with setting it up. Things like, for the Bern race, I remember that the power grid of the city struggled with the. I think it was Gen 1 cars at the time.
I think I've even seen something about this beforehand. But yeah, they I don't think they've got any actual dedicated racing circuits because of that. But that all results from the crash at the 1955 24 Hours of Le Mans. And that tragedy would result from a on-track collision between Mike Hawthorne's Jaguar and the Mercedes that was being driven by Pierre Levesque, which sent the Mercedes into the stands, flying into the stands, which were full of spectators, and it killed at least 82 people, including Levesque himself. And it is to this day the worst motorsports disaster in history. And I kept that until the end because as much as Le Mans has had its incredible moments, you think those amazing victories, whether it's by those iconic moments like Ford winning with the GT40 in 1966, or Ferrari returning to victory in 2023 with the 499P, all of it unfortunately has also got great moments are weighed up alongside the tragic ones, and that's just the case with any motorsports division or race or series, anything like that. There's always going to be that element of danger, and it's that writes the safety regulations. So yeah, that's a sort of a little brief overview. Like I said, I wasn't going to get too into it just in the sake of in the interest of time. But I would implore you to do any research if you are interested. It is an interesting race with a lot of very, interesting history.
Yeah.
But yes, over to you, Mr. Doots.
A mild side tangent. I have actually looked it up. Switzerland does have no current functioning circuits. They have the 2 street tracks, in theory, being Zurich and Bern, but both have only been used once each in 2018 and 2019. And then the previous track before that was Circuit Bremgarten, which hasn't been used since the 55 ban, and I'm pretty sure is just like streets now, just like regular roads. Or
it would have likely been paved over or whatever.
It's either paved over or it's been left abandoned. I believe it's just been turned into regular roads.
Fair enough.
But yeah. Now, I'm here to talk about the 2026 Le Mans race, 24 Hours of Le Mans. I didn't get to watch this live because I was at a very different racetrack listening to the squeaks of a very different kind of axle.
Oh, stop at the time. Fucking flexing.
It was good. It was good fun. But this year's has actually been pretty good. I did really like last year. Mainly because Ferrari fan really enjoy seeing the AF Corsa win, even if it's the customer team. Brilliant to see. But this year, so Hypercar, we had the number 15 BMW on pole. I believe there was someone else on pole first, but they got disqualified. I think it was the Cadillac.
Yeah, it was
38. Yeah. I couldn't tell you what they were disqualified for. If you want to quickly look that up while I talk over this bit. But the number 15 BMW on pole and a tight opening fight between them, the number 20 BMW and the number 12 Cadillac. However, the number 15 very quickly fell decently back, and the number 20 held up front. Both the Ferraris actually made up places in the opening stages, which is quite a shock from them. But there ended up being... Oh, have you got it?
Yeah, it was because it was the Cadillac was released from the pit lane exit ahead of the authorized time.
Okay, fair.
So
fair.
they were sent out before they were supposed to be.
And so they were disqualified.
Yes.
No, very fair, very fair. They didn't have a great time at all. I'm pretty sure they ended up DNFing.
Yeah, that particular one, yeah.
Yeah, the 38 with Earl Bamber.
Which is sad, because they looked like they had good pace.
Yeah. But the Ferraris made up some decent places in the opening stages, but some contacts with LMP2 cars rather than hypercars and some spins meant that they both had to fall back into the order from correcting issues and pitting to get small repairs. As night set in, there were lots of pit stops took place, and the lead changed several times. There was also then a safety car following some LMGT3 crashes, which meant that the number 8 ended up coming out in the lead by the time that safety car ended. And after that, following the final sort of stages of the race, or the rest of the race, it was mainly a battle, in theory, between the number 12 Cadillac, the number 20 BMW, and the number 8 Toyota, with the latter dropping back from pit stops and a speeding penalty from under full course yellows, which essentially, if you don't know, instead of doing... It's kind of like their version of a VSC.
Yeah.
Is what I'd say. It basically puts the entire course under a yellow flag, so everyone has to reduce speed, mainly to clear up risks, because in the history of Le Mans, I don't believe they've ever had a red flag during a race. It's just one of those things, they always keep it to just just pure racing, even if it's binning it down with rain, even if it's a safety car for 6 hours, they will not red flag it. The race keeps going.
No. Wasn't even red flagged. I looked this up earlier.
After the 55, it wasn't red flagged after that.
No, not even after the 1955 disaster, it was red flagged.
No. It kept going.
So,
but
can you just imagine that, though? Like, imagine that happening today. After witnessing so many people, but after witnessing so many people lose their life in a horrible, horrible accident, it's like, yeah, well, box.
We're not going to do it, yeah. Well, but then again,
we're going for Inters now.
With any series, it's like, could you imagine any major accident happens, and then the following year they're just like, oh, it's binning it down, like Suzuka in 2015. Do you really think if it's binning it down with rain, they're going to look at this and go, don't need a red flag? It's fine.
Yeah.
No problem at all.
It does take a special level of mental to partake in.
I think it's also just so embedded into the race.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of one of the things that it's part of the culture that there has never been a red flag. So
there will never be a red flag.
Well, it's got to be something seriously bad to stop the race.
I like to think that if there was ever a repeat of the Le Mans disaster, not that I ever want there to be one, but if there ever was, I like to think now with the sort of more sensitivity to people dying, they would probably bring out a red flag.
They would probably red flag it,
and I don't think it would be a they've lost their no flag streak. It's like, yeah, but 100 people have just died.
I guarantee you there would be someone on Twitter or whatever. It's like,
someone who has never even breathed. Someone who has never even breathed in the cockpit of a racing car will have something to say about it.
Oh, for sure, always the case. But back to the series.
Sorry, I did hijack your.
No, it's fine. It's all good. Just trying to get back on track. By the 16th hour, they had the number 12 leading, but then some retirements from other hypercars. It was the number 17 Genesis, who are fresh faces for this year.
Yeah.
Which, they've done all right so far.
Yeah, not WEC.
Bad. And then an electrical issue, which caused the retirement of the number 50 Ferrari. It led to another safety car, and by the time the restart happened, the number 20 had taken the lead. Finally, with 4.5 hours to go, the number 20 drove through gravel in the pit entry, losing a bunch of time and handing the lead to the Toyotas of the number 7 and number 8, with 7 leading, which had kind of lunged through from nowhere, slowly climbing its way up. It was really impressive to see. And by the time, with the remaining time and the remaining stops to go, the number 20 only actually managed to pass the number 8 car, so that the winner of the 24 Hours of Le Mans was the number 7 Toyota hypercar of Kobayashi, Nick DeVries, and Mike Conway. And it's very good to see. I mean, Kobayashi, very good driver.
Brilliant
good to see him win. It's good to see DeVries actually get a bit of rebuttal. He is now, more than just the guy who failed at AlphaTauri.
Which is a shame, because obviously before that he had a lot going for him as well.
Well, it's the thing of, it's very clear that it was just the car that was not the suit for him.
No,
at the time,
even the Williams the year before when he filled in for Albon.
Yeah, he put in a good performance at
Monza.
for the one fill in at Monza for Williams, which is a circuit that Williams is good at, in all fairness. But
yeah. But I think that car just suited him more than the...
Yeah. But it's also, he's an F2 champion,
F2
one of the
champion,
oldest.
Formula E champion.
Formula E champion,
and now a... Two-time Formula E?
No, just one time.
No, just one time, okay.
The only two-time Formula E champion, I believe, is John-Eric Verne.
Gotcha.
Or maybe Buemi. Buemi, also a multiple-time Le Mans winner.
Wasn't... Oh, God, it's going to kill me, the name now. Completely slipped my mind. But I swear there's another two-time champion as well.
No, I don't believe so. I'll quickly check for you now.
I swear.
No, it's just John-Eric Verne.
Okay.
Who is the only one who won twice in his cheater in what was 2017-18 season and then the 18-19 season.
Gotcha. All right.
So back to back.
I think I'm just thick.
Yeah, no, I think it's Pascal Wehrlein is in good position to get.
That's who I was thinking of, because he's leading standings.
He's not leading at the moment, but he's like second.
He was when I looked last.
Yeah. Anyway, we've got a bit of a side tangent. Yeah, and I mean, it's good to see DeVries up there. Good to see him actually proving himself. Good to see Kobayashi getting some redemption. I'm going to be as polite as possible. I know very little about Mike Conway.
I can't pretend I do either, but I like to think that we might be able to look back on this one day and go, you remember that? You remember when we just knew him as that guy?
I mean, I'm pretty sure he's another WEC driver who I think he won with Kobayashi last time in 2021.
Yeah, I think so.
For the Toyota, so I think he's been it in the long haul for endurance racing.
It's not like he's a new guy. He's not someone that's just shown up.
No, but
it's just
I can't.
Not so familiar to us.
Yeah, I can't pretend I know much about what he did before endurance racing.
Yeah,
but regardless, that's everything for hypercars. Going to very quickly mention LMP2, and you can take over this if you'd like.
I quite like the LMP2 racing because much like in the European Le Mans series, you have the LMP2, the main class, and then you have the LMP2 Pro-Am class, which is basically where they put professional drivers and, as they're called in the sort of the business, quote unquote, gentleman drivers, or Sunday drivers, weekend drivers. They put them together in an LMP2 car, and the LMP2 car, the Orica 07, is one of my favourite racing cars. I don't know why. It's just maybe having seen them on track in person might have swayed my taste there, but they're good looking cars. It's a spec series. In theory they're all roughly equal, so it's a good watch when they're actually on track. I unfortunately, much with Hypercar and LMGT3, I really didn't get to watch much this year, so I couldn't really get engrossed in it, but as was to be expected, the LMP2 category was won by the number 43 Inter Europol. And if you don't know, Inter Europol is they are basically one of the bigger sort of teams that isn't quite like Hypercar level. They are the Yoast Racing of LMP2. And then the Pro-Am category was won by the number 4 CrowdStrike car. So I'm a bit, now that I'm thinking back, I wish I did watch more and sort of pay more attention when I did, because having seen the LMP2 cars race at the European Le Mans Series at Silverstone last year, and knowing that I'll be doing the same again this year, they are really fun to watch on track. So don't make the same mistake as me. Keep an eye on the LMP2 cars because they are great fun.
Indeed, I need to look at the tickets for the 4 hour.
Yeah,
if they're still available.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I haven't quite got mine yet, but I'm planning to soon.
Solid, I might grab that. That might be a good bit of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Moving on to the LMGT3 class. This one I have watched the catch up on, but I don't pay quite as much attention as Hypercar, if I'm honest. Mainly because Hypercar is the front class. It's like the one where the most innovation's happening. It's the one where the most teams are joining at the moment. So it is kind of the focal point of endurance racing when it comes to the WEC. But the number 27, the Heart of Racing, so the Aston Martin, started on pole but lost the lead incredibly quickly due to the Akodis Lexus, the number 78, managing to charge through and just make a fantastic overtake on it. Then an offset strategy allowed the 91 Manthey Porsche to get the lead. But there was I believe it's collision between the 13 and 61. 13 being one of the TF Sport ones, I think, and then the number 61 being the Iron Lynx. And they both retired due to the collision. During much of the night, the Lexus cars, so the Akodis Lexuses of the 78 and 87, held a 1-2, but eventually, by the time it reached hour 13, the Heart of Racing cars managed to take that 1-2. However, sitting in P3 for that pretty much that whole time was the number 33 TF Sport Corvette, which is a fantastic car. And after the penalties and crash from the 91 Manthey, which went I believe it was like right into the pit entrance, essentially it crashed. It was quite an insane incident. But the after that, the battle for the win was held solely between the 78 Lexus, the 23 Heart of Racing Aston Martin, and the number 33 TF Sport, which ended up taking the win for the LMGT3 class with Edgar, Katzberg, and Keating, 3 drivers.
Yeah, the Corvette GT3 car is just really great fun to watch. They there was one at the 4 hours of Silverstone last year for Elms, and as much as I was following the VDS Panis in LMP2, I was really cheering on that Corvette as well in the GT3 class because it's such a cool car and it's so much fun and it sounds great as well. But to be honest, the Heart of Racing Aston Martin, they also had that there, and that thing just sounds incredible. I think that's one of the best sounding racing cars of all time. The
Heart of Racing, it's an Aston Martin Vantage, which it's so good. It looks amazing, machine,
but it sounds. You have to come this year. You have to come this year because you can feel the ground shake. It's got such a presence to it, and that's what I love in a racing car. Yeah, no, it's they're fantastic machines, and the LMGT3 category is also really fun to watch. The thing with GT3 is there's a hell of a lot more races to watch. Yes,
just through all sorts of series because they are one of the most raced car series all over the world.
I have watched a bit of DTM, and obviously you get GT3 cars in DTM.
I mean they're in DTM.
I don't watch lots of DTM, but through the same streaming service I watch the NASCAR on, I can get it quite easily there. So I have just found myself tuning in from time to time when I know it's on, and it's always a good fun watch because you just get some really good overtakes. It's actually just really really good racing. But like you say, there's also IMSA. What else runs GT3?
I'm pretty sure are they in Elms?
Yeah, you get the LMGT3s.
I'm pretty sure it's Elms. So it'll be Elms and Elms as well.
Elms gets LMP2, LMP2 Pro-Am, LMP3, and LMGT3.
Yeah. And then I'm pretty sure stuff like an awful lot of GT series.
Yeah.
The GT World Championship, stuff like that will have an LMGT3 car, and possibly even certain touring car championships on a more local scale. I have to check.
Not BTCC.
Yeah, no, it's not British Touring Car Championship. I know that, but there may be other.
Yeah.
Other touring car championships that are on like a smaller scale that I don't know about that run it, but it is one of the most raced.
It is, and they are indeed great fun to watch. I was sat at Cop's Corner, and you did get some great overtakes.
Yeah.
But yeah,
right. I believe that's everything from
that is.
It's been good on the whole.
Like we said earlier, I think this is the best one in a couple of years, and you know, the next year has got a bit of a hard act to follow with the not only the hypercar result, but obviously the LMGT3 result as well. So,
well, the interesting one for next year is hypercar is getting two completely new constructors.
They are. You are right.
In McLaren and Mercedes returning to the top flight, and yes, I think indeed. we're losing Porsche. I'm pretty sure.
I believe so. Yeah.
Or we might have already.
No. Porsche's already gone from hypercar.
Oh yeah, Porsche already left last year. Sorry, I completely forgot. But the addition of McLaren and Mercedes is going to be really interesting, and I'm pretty sure Ford are also planning on.
Ford are also planning a return. Yeah.
Because they've currently got the Proton competitions in LMGT3, but like the 88 and 77. But I think they're planning on doing a hypercar for next year.
Yeah. Oh no, I just remembered. We're also losing Alpine in hypercar as well.
That was it. I knew there was someone leaving this year.
I was trying to piece it together while you were talking then for a second. I was like, hang on. But yeah, no, that was big news earlier this year. Obviously, Renault kind of generally taking another step back from motorsports as a whole.
Yeah.
So that's a shame because the Alpine hypercar sounded really cool.
It sounds really good, and it has one of, in my opinion, the prettiest parts of any race car in the world.
Tail lights.
The fact that the tail lights are the Alpine logo is so cool. It's really just cool. so stupid, but it's so cool.
It's such a shame. But no, you are right. That is the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and that's been a sort of brief overview from these two idiots. So yeah, but to move things along, before we go back to Formula One to discuss our predictions for this week, I guess, as of when you'll be listening.
Oh yeah. Austria. The Austrian
Grand Prix this week. Before we get to that, we need to discuss what's been happening in the other motorsports series that we both watch this week. And we've got a few, so buckle up. But I'll be starting like normal with the NASCAR Cup Series, which I always implore people to watch. And this last race was awesome. Not just the race itself, but also the setting. It was the Andoril 250, which it took place at Coronado Naval Air Station. So it was a race at a naval base, and it was a street circuit built on like the roads and runways of the naval base. Basically, I want you to imagine the Monaco Grand Prix, but instead of Formula One cars, you've got Cup Series cars, and instead of super yachts, you have aircraft carriers and littoral combat ships. Which it just made for an awesome setting. Like, as you had the camera pan round, like, you just had the USS Carl Vinson in the background. Like, really
did
cool.
Look very cool. Is this a new track for?
It is.
For this year?
It's for the 250th celebration. Like, they're doing a lot of stuff in America to celebrate 250 years. Yeah. It may return next year, but there's no solid plan yet, as far as I'm aware. But nevertheless, the king of the road races, Shane van Gisbergen, looked set to win. He'd taken pole as everyone expected him to, and for anyone who doesn't know, SVG before racing in NASCAR won multiple championships in Australian V8 supercars. So lugging a hefty V8 supercar around a sort of tight road circuit, that's his thing. But he actually ended up getting caught up in a huge collision in stage 2, which dropped him right down the order and caused his car significant damage. And what emerged was these great showcases of pace from several drivers, namely Ryan Blaney in the number 12 Ford Mustang several times took the lead and looked like, at certain points, I thought Ryan Blaney was going to win. But then also Bubba Wallace had some crazy pace. after losing a wheel, he managed to make it back up into the fight for the win. And also, championship leader Tyler Reddick made his way up there. And none of them would be the first to take the checkered flag, because as the laps wound down, the heir apparent to Cup Series glory, Corey Heim, would overtake Tyler Reddick after quite a good battle before Reddick got a puncture and ended up dropping right back. But yeah, Corey Heim would take the win for his first in Cup Series, which was crazy. Yeah, Heim, the 2025 Truck Series champion, is not even racing full-time in Cup this season. He races for 2311 in a part-time campaign, and his first full-time season will be next year. But he's made a huge statement, and obviously it's got a lot of people talking about the future. And I sort of said to you earlier before we started recording, Corey Heim is kind of regarded in the same way that a lot of F1 fans knew about Kimi Antonelli before he was in Formula One. There was sort of already like this status being built around him as this amazing driver who was absolutely dominating in the junior divisions. So yeah, Corey Heim is coming, and we now need to consider if we're ready for him or not.
Also, shout out Kevin Magnussen.
Yes, you are right. In the number 91.
And also got the fastest lap.
Yeah.
And now holds the lap record.
And he may forever if they never run that race again.
If they don't come back, then he will hold it forever.
But yes, Kevin Magnussen was driving the number 91 for Trackhouse Racing. And the number 91 is always a fun one, because that car basically, they'll put in, like, they'll bring in drivers from other series or whatever, and they can drive in that car. We've already seen F1, championship glory as well, take to the reins of the number 91, with Kimi Räikkönen taking the wheel for a few times over the last few years. So it's a really cool concept, and it's a lot of fun, and obviously it gets other fans into NASCAR as well to see. So I just love it. I can't believe I forgot to mention it, but yeah, no, thank you. You saved me from killing myself.
Yeah, okay, I wasn't. It's not that serious, but
the internet comments will tell me to.
I'm sure they will. Now, on to MotoGP, and we've had quite a crazy weekend with GP Czechia. The first thing I want to mention, monstrous pace from Ayagura. That man is on a mission, and with that Aprilia, he's done wondrous things, getting pole, his maiden pole, first pole for Trackhouse, first pole for a Japanese rider since Nakagami in 2020. Brilliant from him. However, he didn't unfortunately manage to convert it to any wins throughout the weekend, but I just want to shout that out now. Did get 2 podiums though, so can't complain. And for a guy in his second year, he's not doing badly at all, especially on a customer team. Mm-hmm. Now, the sprint was won by Pecco Bagnaia, who had a brilliant start, and like the top 3 of him, Agura, and Marc Marquez essentially ran away with the race. The corners were so, I don't know whether it was like a lack of grip or just like a resurfacing or something like that, but there's so many people low-siding off into the gravel throughout the sprint, which kind of it made it quite interesting to see all the tight battles, fantastic overtakes, and what looked like there was I think it was a moment where Binder slid off and then Moreira did at the same time, and they didn't take each other out. It was just 2 people crashing at the same spot, like with there being no connectivity between the 2 of them, which was quite funny. But one of those people who low-sided off was the championship leader of Marco Bezzecchi, who then proceeded to do something which is completely unacceptable. And when one of the marshals was trying to help him get his bike up, which was still on and was revving it by accident, he at first pushed them away, which, hit at the moment, fine. But then after the marshal tried further to aid, he slapped the marshal. And incredibly uncharacteristic from Bezzecchi, incredibly unacceptable, and understandably he was given a full suspension from the Grand Prix after the sprint was done. He did go and apologize to the marshal. He was incredibly sorry. He put out like a formal apology online. And I believe in a little bit of weird irony, I believe he gifted the gloves that he slapped the marshal with to the marshal, which is it's a little bit like like handing the bullet you shot someone with back to them. But I don't know. I guess it's a nice thing to do. I would have come with like some boots or a helmet or something, you know. But regardless, it means that he was excluded from the main Grand Prix, which means as the championship leader, it gave everyone a chance to catch up as much as possible, and no one did that more than Marc Marquez. Despite a better start from Agura and a really good early start from Diogo Moreira in his rookie season, managing to launch all his way up to 4th with some early pace, but then the Ducatis just controlled the race, taking the top 2 spots and fighting between each other, while Agura only just managed to hold on in 3rd, but a gap built between Agura and the rest of the pack, while he hung a roughly 7/10 behind the 2 Ducatis. There was some good fighting all the way through the field. Di Antonio and Pedro Costa had some brilliant fights, which sadly ended with a mechanical failure from Acosta, which was such a shame because he had worked an awful lot, and that's a massive point loss, considering how well a lot of the other top runners did around Brno. But as per standard, Bagnaia loses pace later in the race and drops back, letting Agura take P2. But it means that Marquez, in 2 weekends, come from an 102-point deficit to now only being 40 points off the championship lead. And there is one person you can never count out of something, and that is Marquez. Marc Marquez is if that Ducati is under him, Bezzecchi's in danger. Like, that can go south.
If Bezzecchi's in danger, then so are the marshals.
Yeah, and if Bezzecchi's in danger, the marshals might as well be dead.
Marshals quiver when they see him go off.
No, but it was a very good race on the whole. Brno, since coming back, really good, like pretty decent circuit for racing, and the battling. Really glad to see it back. Apparently, it's one of the best, actual atmosphere-wise. Apparently, the Czech people in the village nearby is like a constant party, which sounds like quite a good bit of fun, especially being one of the cheaper. Yeah, it's one of the cheaper races, I believe. So, I could be tempted to go over there at some point, but the podium ended up being. It's good fun. The podium ended up being Marquez in 1st, Agura taking 2nd as another podium for his season, and then Bagnaia managing to hold on to 3rd. Now, on to the Formula E, where this race was the Sanya E-Prix, and for those who don't know, Sanya was a track from Gen 2 that was used as a one-off, and for some reason they brought it back, probably because Chinese money, but I'm not sure. The race ended up being won by Jake Dennis, with Pepe Marti getting a 2nd podium for his rookie season, which was pretty good, especially after starting 14th and managing to climb up, but it's a little bit disingenuous in parts, because it really just showed how powerful the attack mode is around this track. What was funniest to me was Eduardo Mortara managing to suffer the same fate that Nico Hulkenberg did just a few weeks ago, in a safety switch going off on his car and deactivating it, which led to his retirement, which is wild enough that it happened to one rider.
If I had a penny.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the old Doofenshmirtz thing of if I had a dollar for every time that happened, blah 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 blah. You know the meme.
Exactly. That's why I just didn't bother finishing it.
Yeah. But it led to a very chaotic race. There was lots of crashes, and a lot of like small bits of damage and hitting one another. And it was quite a peloton style race where everyone was in just one big lump. They were all really close. There wasn't much separation. There weren't tons of particularly interesting overtakes outside of the attack mode. And I think it is entirely down to the circuit. Sanya is not a track that I particularly enjoy. There was a massive pile-up at Turn 9, which for those who... Obviously, we don't have visuals on this, but if you can look up the Sanya street circuit and look for turn... I think it used to be Turn 8, it's now Turn 9. But basically, it's a really long straight that leads to a really tight hairpin, followed by a really long straight. And in Formula E, a really long straight allows for really good attack mode usage, and a really tight hairpin leads to a pile-up. And unsurprisingly, there was a gigantic pile-up at Turn 9, about halfway through the race, which just, it completely neutralised it for ages, and it's so dumb, because every time, it wasn't even that massive pile-up, every time they all went through that hairpin as a group, someone would lose their front wing, or someone would get some of their bodywork clipped, or so, there was nowhere for them to go. And maybe with next year bringing in the Gen 4 cars, because it was originally brought in for the Gen 2s back in 2019, I want to say. But it wasn't even good then, so I don't know why they've brought it back now. And maybe it could be better with the Gen 4 cars, depending on how they work, but I would so much rather that it doesn't return and we bring back literally any of the other more interesting tracks. Bring back Marrakesh. Marrakesh was great.
Right.
And then that's that. So do you want to cover IndyCar?
Well, I can cover a little bit of it, but I didn't get to watch.
Yeah,
we can bounce back and forth on this, but this was the Road America GP, which was how did he even do it? Because I only caught the first half of it, of the highlights.
I have no idea. Essentially, Christian Lundgaard, after receiving front wing damage on on the first lap, him dropping all the way to the back due to pit stop to fix, somehow managed to climb his way up through all the yellows, through all the pits, through everything, up to the front. And what I will say, I don't think he would have won were it not for Armstrong, Marcus Armstrong's mechanical failure.
Yeah, Armstrong had some crazy pace in the first half.
I mean, Armstrong, but it was 4 laps to go. Armstrong was leading, and then his car decided to detonate, which handed the lead to Lundgaard. But it did, however, lead to an absolutely fantastic final battle for that last podium place. People scrapping all the way up and down the field while everyone packed together under a full course yellow, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Or full course caution or whatever. But ended up with a brilliant fight, especially for third between 3 of the cars, and a slightly dodgy defense move from Rahal, which led to Power completely pile driving him into the gravel. Full... I don't even want to say... Probably pit maneuver is the best word for it. Slinging him into the gravel and letting Power take the last podium spot. Whether that gets investigated for anything, I don't think it will, with it being IndyCar, but there's always the chance that could change. But it was a spectacle and a half to watch. David Malukas got another P2. It's only so long until he gets his win. Promise it'll be next race. It's got to happen. Definitely.
He was bitterly close at the 500, and that would have been an amazing start, an amazing first win in IndyCar. But it's so clearly coming.
Yeah, and it's just it's always good to see Road America. It's got such good elevation change.
It is great for IndyCar. It really does work.
It's just a brilliant track. I'd love to see NASCAR go back there.
Yes.
I mean,
no, you're not wrong.
Even any kind of touring car or endurance series would be quite fun. I feel like it'd be quite tough on WEC, but LMGT,
I don't think it'd be wide enough for. Don't think it'd be wide enough for WEC.
No, definitely not. But for just an LMGT3 or a touring car series, I think it'd be pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
but yes,
I think that's everything from the other series.
So with only a few days to go now until the Austrian Grand Prix, we as per usual, we have to make some predictions before the race. Now, these have, with us, got a reputation for being very hit and miss, emphasis on the miss. And the way we do it, we have 4 categories that we each have to pick from. You have the race winner, which is fairly obvious. We each pick who we think is going to be the race winner. Then we have the race binner, who we think is going to have a bad race, whether that's, they shag qualifying and can't recover it, they crash out during the race, or some sort of mechanical failure, yada, 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 something. And then flop of the tops, which top team driver do we think is going to have the worst race? And then we come to the wildcard prediction. And this can really be anything, within the realms of sensibility. So, would you like to start us off? Who do you think is going to be the race winner of the Austrian Grand Prix in 2026?
I think is going to win? Well, trying to think, the problem with Austria, it's quite a generic circuit. And there's no one that's I can really think is going to do better at it than the Mercs without a bit of chaos. So I've gone for George Russell to win around Austria.
Well, I have joined you on that because I too have said George Russell. My predictions thus far have been very, their quality is questionable. And I wanted to try and really think hard, like, who is in with the best shot? And I by process of elimination, I sort of thought Antonelli, I'm sure he's definitely improved since last year, but last year's exhibition at Austria was not good from him. The Ferraris, Leclerc's recent form has not been encouraging, and Hamilton, while obviously he's coming off of a Grand Prix win, his form at Austria has never been that good. And then Norris has always had pretty good form at Austria, but at the same time, the McLaren is nowhere near the Mercedes when it comes to the pace. So I think if it's going to be anyone, it'll be George Russell, unless some sort of mechanical issue or collision comes in the way of that. But that's not part of the prediction. The prediction is who we think is going to win, and I think it'll be George Russell.
Yeah, very fair. Right, shall we move on to then who we think is going to be
the race binner?
The race binner. So, for the race binner, I have gone for Pierre Gasly. I think that he's had so many good performances as of late. It's got to come to a crumble at some point. And my thoughts are, Austria is quite a short track. There's quite a lot of places for people to do some tight fighting. I can imagine it's going to be a collision sends him spinning up at like turn 3 or something. Puts him out of the race.
Interesting.
Or something like that. Or maybe losing a front wing and needing to pit. Something along those lines. But I can just see Gasly not having that good a race.
Well, I've gone for Alex Albon. Alex Albon has had a very sort of I wouldn't even say hit or miss relationship with Austria in the past. It's kind of been met or miss. Because I think it was it 2019 that he got spun out by Hamilton, I think it was.
By Hamilton, yeah.
Was it 2019 or 20? Yeah, it must have been.
No, it must have been 19.
Yeah, it must have been 19.
Yeah.
Date's not important, but yeah. Even when he's been doing okay, things have got in his way, and I just think, this year will be no different. So yeah, I've put him down as race binner.
Yeah, fair. Perfect. I then have gone for my flop of the tops. Who of the top team drivers is going to take the L? And in my opinion, it's the one with L starting his name. It's Leclerc. I don't think, as much as he is my favorite driver, I do not think he is going to be recovering from his questionable form as of yet. I'm not quite sure if he's going to be like properly horrendous, but I could see him being like stuck down in 8th, not really doing much.
Yeah.
Kind of doing nothing. And like struggling with some kind of technical issue on that Ferrari. But yeah.
Well, speaking of Ferrari, I have put Lewis Hamilton. Now, like I said, obviously Lewis Hamilton is coming off of a strong showing in Spain, and there is genuine pace behind that as well. But at the same time, like I said earlier, Hamilton has never really had crazy pace in Austria. In spite of all those years of championship dominance from 2014 to 2020, he's only won the Austrian Grand Prix once. And it's just things like that that make me feel like it's just not a track that he's adjusted to the best in the past. And I mean, maybe this new set of regulations will be different and bear some more fruitful results for him. But at the same time, I don't necessarily see that happening. And I think that this will probably not be a favourable year for him on the Austrian Grand Prix. So yeah, he is my flop of the tops. I hope I'm wrong, but that's my feeling.
Yeah, just don't see it. That's fair. And finally is the wildcard prediction, and I've gone for one that's a little. It's not massively generic, but it's a little more generic, and that is that I believe only one Merc is going to be on the podium.
Interesting.
Don't know who that is. Haven't specified who.
Well, you kind of have.
My guess is that it's going to be Russell.
Well, you kind of have specified which one it'll be because you said Russell will be race winner.
yeah.
Well, my wild card is even more obscure and difficult because I've put Alonso doesn't fucking DNF. I really hope that he doesn't for once. It'd be really nice. You know, Aston Martin engine upgrades, all sorts, lots of things being said about that. I just want the man to finish a fucking race. That'd be lovely. I've followed this man for well over a decade, whether closely or not, and I just don't know how much longer I've got in me before I start weeping.
No, very fair, very fair. He's been struggling as of late.
That Aston Martin is such a dog.
Indeed. However, they've said improvements. They're looking to hoping to fight for points for the rest of the season.
One can hope, but yes,
one can hope.
Those are our predictions, and tune in next week to see how well we did and to see us review those predictions. But
got Austria coming up. Should be good.
Yeah, it should be good. I think
decent track. I like Austria.
Me too. I think we both sort of held this one in relatively high regard as well. So and you'll have to hear our thoughts on that next week. Please do join us then. And obviously, if you have got to this point, you're still listening. Thank you very, very much. We hope you've enjoyed. And if you haven't already, like we said earlier, please subscribe, follow on whatever platform, and indeed on our social media accounts. It makes it much easier to engage with our audience. And obviously, that's something that we enjoy doing as well. So, Doots?
Yeah, I believe that's all. And so I think that's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.